Long before the Himalayas pushed their way into the sky, the Indian subcontinent already had a mountain range. Born during the Pre-Cambrian era, the Aravallis stand as one of the oldest surviving geological structures on Earth. This map traces their exact path. It is a relict fold mountain system, the weather remains of a once massive ridge, stretching 692 kilometers from Gujarat up to Delhi. On the western edge of this divide lies the Thar Desert. Without a physical barrier in place, high winds would carry millions of tons of dry sand eastward, potentially overrunning the fertile soil of the Gangetic Plains. Instead, the mountains break those winds. The eastern slopes capture the moisture from passing weather systems, trapping groundwater and sustaining a dense network of forests and wildlife. By standing exactly where they do, the Aravallis act as a 600-kilometer buffer. They prevent the Thar from overtaking the Ganga Basin, a region that today supports the agriculture and water needs of nearly half of India's population. This diagram illustrates exactly how these peaks were thrust into existence over 650 million years ago. Massive tectonic plates collided and buckled the continental crust, folding the Earth upwards into a towering ridge. Over hundreds of millions of years, wind and rain wore down the softer surface rocks. The peaks that survive today are made primarily of a highly resilient material called quartzite. Quartzite is a metamorphic rock. When loose sandstone is subjected to extreme heat and intense tectonic pressure, the individual grains of sand crush together into a dense, interlocking crystalline structure. This cross-section highlights a crucial structural element. While quartzite forms the peaks, the deep foundations of the southern Aravallis are built from granite, an igneous rock formed from molten magma. Cooling very slowly deep underground, granite develops a coarse-grained texture with large, stable crystals. A deep granite foundation anchored in the crust, capped by weather-resistant quartzite peaks. That geological combination is the reason these mountains are still standing today. This regional map breaks down the geography of that surviving rock. In the southern Aravallis, the range is at its most extreme, forming a thick, continuous cluster of high-altitude ridges. This table lists the tallest points. At the top is Guru Shikhar, reaching 1,722 meters. Moving north into the central section, the ridge breaks into isolated hills, dropping elevation by half. In the northern Aravallis, the terrain fades into smaller, disconnected rocky outcrops. The final remnants of the rock stretch all the way into Delhi. Raisina Hill, the land beneath Rashtrapati Bhawan, the Indian presidential palace, is the literal geographic endpoint of the mountain system. The system acts as a massive geological wedge, anchored tall and wide in the south, tapering down to a practically invisible point in the north. This 3D map illustrates a major climate consequence of the range's shape. Because the Aravallis sit on a diagonal southwest to northeast axis, the ridge funnels the Arabian Sea monsoon winds parallel to the mountains. The rain clouds bypass the northwest, keeping the desert arid. These side-by-side drainage maps highlight its other role as the Great Water Divide. The physical crest of the mountains dictates where rainwater goes, sending western rivers into the Arabian Sea, and eastern rivers toward the Ganga and the Bay of Bengal. But after surviving hundreds of millions of years of natural erosion, the range is buckling under human pressure. Illegal mining, rapid deforestation, and urban sprawl are physically tearing the hills apart. To stop the desert from advancing through these newly created gaps, the government initiated the Aravalli Green Wall Project. Over a 10-year span, the plan is to plant 1.35 billion native trees, rehabilitating a 1,600-kilometer ecological corridor. Rebuilding the forest cover also restores crucial migratory routes for wildlife, providing a continuous habitat for the region's Indian leopards and jackals. It also means preserving deep layers of human history. For centuries, empires used these high ridges for protection, building massive defensive structures like the soaring stone walls of Kumbhalgarh Fort directly into the bedrock. The Aravalli Range is more than just ancient rock. It is a primary climate regulator and India's oldest guardian. It has served as a critical barrier and a watershed for 600 million years, a legacy that now depends on our conservation.